good day here, having a chance with the coaches just to dive into the film and really evaluate closely and talk through the tape and our first action in a game, in a preseason game. And it was good. There were a lot of good things on tape, a lot of good evidence of playing football the way we want to play as a team in all three phases. But obviously still got a long way to go. There's things we need to clean up. We know we got to win the turnover battle, which we didn't do in that game. We had too many penalties, 6 of them on offense. That needs to be cleaned up. And, and then we just need to, just continue to play in a way that's just a little bit more consistent than we did yesterday. But really thought, we were good situationally, really good situationally, 2-minute, third down, red zone, in both phases. So that was very positive. Really looking forward to this week, building from the game and taking the next step. So I'll open it up.
Hey, Mike Chappell.
Frank, you had so many guys that hadn't played in a while. We talked about your quarterbacks, but the receivers, what did you see from, Patman and Strawn and Vaughns and Black? What did you see from that group that are looking for those last roster spots at that position?
Just playmaking, and good speed. We really put a lot of emphasis the last couple of weeks on, good releases versus press coverage. That's a big deal. So saw some of that, making the plays that come your way. We've talked about, we think we have quarterbacks who have the ability to get the ball down the field. And so we wanted to see big plays down the field. We want to call those plays. We want to throw those plays. I thought those guys were able to provide all that. Those receivers did a great job. You've
been high on this group since you got it together. Did that just reinforce, I guess, top to bottom, what you think you have?
It really did. And it's a good mix of guys. We were just meeting earlier as a staff with the coaches and the scouts. And really, I was like telling the scouts, man, you guys did an incredible job. Chris and his staff of continuing to fill this roster, with players that make these decisions hard. There's a lot of guys in that receiver group. There are a lot of guys that showed some things on tape that you need to show to win football games. So, but now the key is to do it consistently. That was one game. So we're happy with how they played as a group, but we also don't want to overreact. They need to continue to show that. They've been doing it in practice, but need to continue to show that and continue to get better.
Jim Aiello.
Hey, Frank, we're now at the 2-week mark, I guess, past the Carson Wentz surgery. So I'm wondering if you guys know now any more about, the timeline of his return, if it's going to be closer to the window, the 5-week window or the 12-week window.
Well, Jim, what I would say would be this, we're at, like you said, we're at the 2-week window. We feel good about where we're at the 2-week window. How what I like to say about these kind of things is I just don't see the advantage of me trying to project that out. I mean, I can just tell you, we feel good about where we're at right now. I think that's the main thing. I think Carson and Q have done a good job, in the rehab process with the right mentality. Getting the work done that they need to get done. And I think it's all been good.
And follow up with one more injury question just on Ryan Kelly and how he's doing.
Yeah, he's doing well, Jim. Hopefully get him out to practice later this week. I don't think it'll be tomorrow or the next day, maybe, but hopefully later this week. We're optimistic we can get him back out there.
Okay. JJ.
Hey, Frank, I'm curious, when you went and watched the film of both Jacob and Sam, were your eyes going where their eyes were going in the progressions?
Most of the time, it was good. There's a few times, no, but that's to be expected. It's hard to grade out 100%. I think we can get better, but I think they did a good job with their eyes, with their progressions. But, the standards are pretty high. We push the guys pretty hard and they want to be perfect themselves. So there's definitely some areas that we can get better.
Coach Brady talked about this back in June, with developing trust between you guys as the coaches and the quarterbacks in these preseason games. Do you feel like when your eyes are going where their eyes are going in the progressions, that helps build that trust?
Yeah, there are two things, like you said, JJ, eyes going where the same place, but then there's also this internal clock, like as a former quarterback, where I'm watching the play, and in my mind I'm saying ball, like the ball should be out. And most of the time when I'm in my head saying ball, the ball's coming out. There's probably a couple times where I want to see it get out a tick quicker. Those things can sometimes make a huge difference in the game, but we're continuing to make really good strides there, and a lot of good progress on tape.
Joel Erickson.
Frank, I didn't see Kari Willis in uniform yesterday. Is he dealing with an injury or?
Yeah, no, I mean, Kari is fine. I mean, he is, that was more a decision, just to, a lot of our starters obviously didn't play, so Kari's doing fine.
Chris Hagan.
And
Go ahead, Joel.
and just you mentioned earlier that you wanted to see the ball go down the field, ball thrown down the field more often. How do you feel like do you feel like they've done enough of that on the practice field so far, or would you like to see more?
I think if you're kind of hinting, Joel, that maybe you want to see a little bit more of it when you're watching practice, I think that's a fair statement. That's a nice passive aggressive way of like saying that you'd like to see us do that. Well, we were holding it all back for the game for you, so yeah, I think you're right. There's times we do want to see a little bit more. There's times we do want to see a little bit more on the practice field. However, our defense, it's tough to get behind them, the way that we play our coverages, and they know some of our stuff, so it makes it a little bit harder.
Chris Hagan.
Hey, Coach, a quick off the field question for you. Huge announcement yesterday with Not Today and the big alliance and getting support from the NFL and the LA Super Bowl committee. So just a big news and moving forward with something I know that's really important to you. Just want to get your comment on that since the news had broke.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking. Really big weekend for Not Today. Being approved by the Super Bowl committee out in LA, the host committee out in LA, and by the NFL to be part of an alliance of 5 organizations that are really going to make an impact in the area of sexual abuse and exploitation of children. And, the focus of that is the 2 weeks out at the Super Bowl. But really the plan yesterday was that my wife, Linda, really orchestrated with the alliance a soft launch yesterday here at Lucas Oil Stadium. It's not just going to be the 2 weeks out there, but it's really the whole year building up to it, the alliance working together to make an impact in this space.
Stephen Holder.
Hey, Frank. I know you guys don't disclose a lot in terms of COVID-related stuff, but we did get the news about flus before the game. And I guess we're all working under the assumption he's vaccinated because staff's supposed to be vaccinated. So I assume it's a breakthrough case, I think. That being said, is there anything that you guys can, should, or think you need to do in terms of additional measures? Or I don't know what you even could do, but I mean, is that something you guys have talked about? Is this something that's on your mind?
Yeah, no, definitely, Stephen. We do talk about it. It is on our mind. Like you said, it was a breakthrough case, fully vaccinated. We know that happens occasionally. We still know and believe that it's better to be vaccinated because the symptoms are lessened. From what I'm hearing, and I've had talked to Flus this morning. He's asymptomatic, feeling great. So feel really good about that, and obviously just want him to take care of himself. And we're following every protocol that we can. We'll continue to be stringent upon that, and just do the little things right. At the same time, continue to stay focused on getting prepped. We're going above and beyond, even like with the other defensive coaches who were kind of close contact. We're going above and beyond the protocols of testing them and just making sure nothing leaks through for days afterwards. So stuff like that. We know it's here. This thing isn't going to go away anytime soon, probably. So we're going to continue to take a responsible approach as an organization and try to do the right thing.
Okay, we'll go 2 more. Mike Wells.
Hey, Frank, I wanted to double back to I think it was Jim asked about Carson. Obviously, you guys don't want to put a timeline on when he potentially could get back. But what is the next step for him once he starts the next step in his rehab process?
Yeah, he'll start doing some walkthroughs here pretty soon. We'll push him, not push him, but part of the rehab process will just be doing walkthroughs. And you guys know how we feel about that. That's real when, he gets out there and, he gets out there and is doing walkthrough with us. That's a good thing. He'll start throwing some, and, and then we'll advance that as we can, right. He could sit down, anybody, when you say start throwing, that could mean a lot of different things. So, he's been sticking to a plan. That plan has been going well. We're happy where he's at right now. And, we'll just look forward to updating you guys as we go along and as, and we get further along in the process. Now 2 weeks into it, we feel good where we're at, but just feel like these next 2 weeks will be really critical for him to stay on course. He and Quentin to stay on course and continue to get better.
And if all of us had medical degrees, none of us would be talking to you right now. We'd be in a hospital. But if the fact that he's been on the field at every practice since last week without a boot, and he seems to be walking fine, how positive is that for him?
I think it's very positive. I mean, like I said, I continue to be optimistic that, about his return, but it's just still just doesn't make any sense for me to try to predict when that'll be, because as the rehab continues and he starts pushing it, you don't know, do you have is there a setback along the way when you really start going harder, and you really start testing it out. Right now, everything feels like it's great, but how far have we really tested it? We're only 2 weeks out. So I think that's why it makes sense to me and our team here to, hey, let's let him get further into this process and the rehab and actual getting on the field and taking next steps there to determine, the pace that we go.
All right, last one, Zach Kiefer.
Hey, Frank. Jim Irsay was on the TV broadcast yesterday and said, our plan is probably to stay as is at quarterback. And if Carson's not ready, go with Jacob or go with Sam. And I know that's your stance right now. You're not looking to make a trade, but without knowing how they played, it was kind of one of those things where you keep it up in the air. Did yesterday solidify anything in your mind? And I know you don't have to name a starter yet, but did it make you feel better about if you have to go with one of these guys, we feel like one of them can get it done for a game or two or whatever it is?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Zach. And a good observation in that, really, and Chris and I, in our mind, and as a staff, as we've talked, this was one of the key checkpoints. We've had a couple of weeks of practice and, we were assuming the best. We were assuming the game would go like it did, that they would both look good. But naturally in this league, because as I've said before, it's a meritocracy. You got to go out there and show it. And they both showed up well in the game. So that's a very positive thing. So in some ways, yes, that kind of affirms the stance that we've taken, and we'll continue to go down that road, assuming that that things will continue to get better. And I have no reason to think anything other than that.